I'm Megan Cornell, and if you're watching this, hopefully you know that I am seeking the federal Liberal nomination in the new riding of Canada-Carleton for the 2015 election. As we sit here on September 17th, 2014, that election is coming up quite quickly, and I'm excited to be part of this nomination process. And we are launching with this a new series where we answer constituent questions. So I'm excited to answer 3 of those questions tonight, and we'll be answering more questions each week. So we encourage you to send in your questions for me to answer that I can then share with anyone else who's interested. And you can find out information on my website at megancornell.ca on how to do that. And you can just send me an email at megan@megancornell.ca if that's the easiest way for you to do it. So we're going to answer 3 questions tonight. The first one is from Alice, and it is, what is your professional background? So my background is as a business lawyer. I've been doing that for over 14 years now, and my clients are small businesses all the way to large businesses, local, non-local, and a lot of high-tech clients. So that's driven a lot of my focus on the need for the candidate to support our high-tech community. I've done a lot of work supporting the business community outside of my office duties through the West Ottawa Board of Trade and helping to set up the BIA for the Canada North Tech Park, which I'm really excited about. And my husband works in high tech, so it's something that's always been a strong focus of mine and something I really think that our MP needs to have as a core focus in this high tech riding that we live in. So that's where I'm at now in my professional capacity. I started out doing being in the courtroom and also doing a fair bit of labor and human rights work. So I've had a fairly varied practice. In law school, I had a focus on international trade and investment as well. I did a special program in international trade and investment. So that's always been an interest of mine, and as I watch our government that we have now negotiating our trade deals, that's always a core interest of mine, is seeing where that's going and if it's going in the direction that we as Canadians want it to go in. Before I went to law school, I did my undergrad degree at Carleton in criminology. And in that degree, I had a fairly significant focus on sentencing and developing public policy to deal with the best approach that we could have towards our correctional system and ensuring that when offenders got out of the correctional system that they were going to have the best tools to be contributing members of society. So I've also always paid a lot of attention to our justice policy in this country, and I certainly think we're on the wrong track in the last 10 years with our justice policy, and I'm eager to see us get that policy back on track as well. So that's my professional background. And now I'm going to answer question number 2, which comes from Michael, and that is, what is your involvement in federal politics? So as many of you know, I was the provincial candidate in the previous riding of Carleton, Mississippi Mills, which included Canada and West Carleton, in 2007-2011. But actually my attachment to federal politics goes back much further than that. I've been working in federal politics as a volunteer and as a contributor for over 20 years. The last 3 leadership contests that we've had in the Federal Liberal Party, I've been very actively involved in supporting a candidate and have been a delegate and organizing on the ground level. I've been on several different riding associations, including the one here, contributed a fair bit of my time at both the federal and the provincial levels, because my view on politics is that federal and provincial is not that much of a divide. It's important that we're involved in both and we see the connections between both levels of government. So to me, it's a natural extension for me to seek the federal nomination, and I'm excited to be doing that. There's sort of a part 2 to that question, and it was in response to a suggestion that that service to a community starts with showing up, as a statement that's been made, and I couldn't agree more. I absolutely agree that service starts with showing up, and that is exactly what I've done for the past 8 years in this riding since I moved here to raise my family here. I have shown up every single time in this community that I've been called upon to help out, whether it's fundraising, whether it's supporting the business community, the school communities, cultural events. Every single time I've been asked to step up, I've stepped up. And I don't think there's anyone in this community that can say I don't show up. In fact, it's the exact opposite. I show up any and every time I'm asked to show up. So I'll certainly take anyone to task who suggests that I haven't shown up in this community. I think it's the exact opposite. So, third question that I wanted to answer today is from Eamon. And that question is, what do you mean when you say that Canada is getting off track? And I've certainly been talking with a lot of people about that over the last few months, over the summer. And the reality is that Canada has become a country where public policy has been driven by ideology. The last 10 years, ideology has infected so many different levels of our public policy. It has infected us in the sense that we've started destroying our ability to do research and to collect data. And it seems like there's this ideology that is against evidence-based decision-making that has just infected all levels of public policy. It's infected our financial policy and our efforts to steer the economy in a given way. It's affected our citizenship, and it's resulted in the fact that there's two different levels of Canadian citizenship. If you hold citizenship somewhere else in the world, then even if you have Canadian citizenship, you're a second-class citizen in Canada now, in that you're not as secure as someone like me who only holds Canadian citizenship. And that's not the Canada that I know, that I was raised in and that I believe in, and that's the Canada I'm going to continue to fight for. The ideology has infected our environmental policy and our complete inattention to the needs of our environment in Canada as well as our responsibilities on a global level. And finally, it's really infected our foreign policy, and our history and track record in Canada as diplomats and as peacekeepers has been completely lost. And we've gone so off track, driven completely by ideology in our foreign policy and by political interests here at home by the governing party. And we cannot do foreign policy in that manner anymore. We must get Canada back on track. We must go back to the core principles that drive Canada. We passed the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in 1982, and although I was a fairly young person at the time, my interest in government and public policy started around that time. And I was raised on the Charter, and that's the Canada I believe in, and I know that it's the Canada that many people immigrated to, and they feel it's been completely lost. And the fact that we could so lose our way over 10 years, such a short period of time, and this government has so completely steered us off track, that we have to get Canada back on track before any more damage is done, and go back to those core principles, the concept that all Canadians are judged equally and that we judge issues around the world equally. We use the same measuring stick. Just simple principles of fairness are what has always been what being a Canadian is about, and we've really lost that in the last 10 years. So when I talk about losing Canada and my fears for needing to put us back on track, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So those are my answers to 3 questions. I really hope that you'll submit some more, because I love answering questions, and I know that it's not always easy for people to get out to meet and greets or community events. And so this is a great way to submit questions, and I can share my answers with the world, because that's what I think is important to do as a candidate. So please visit my website, megancornell.ca, and find out ways to get in touch with me there if you'd like. Thanks.